This is my big shallow, the CPD River, red cherry shrimpscape, the no filter aquarium with the Phoenix rasboras and the yellow Neo Carolina shrimp, Blackwater with the blue neon rasboras. And last but not least, we have our little balcony pond. So in the past few weeks and months, we've done quite a few new setups. Biggest one, of course, being the big shallow behind me. And then did a few smaller tanks as well. So in this video, I want to give you guys an update on every single one of those tanks. Show you guys some of the old tanks as well that you haven't seen in a while. Basically just going to be a room tour. Yeah, so I think I currently have 10 tanks in total. We have 5 on the shelf. We have the big shallow, that's number 6. On the table we have the CPD River, that's number 7. Then in the window we have a fluffy cat, and we have number 8. That's a tank that actually just came back, but more on that later. We have another fluff ball, and we have tank number 9, the 60p. And on that corner we have the 7-liter scrapers tank number 10. And then of course we still have the mini pond that's outside on the balcony, which we're going to take a look at later as well. So do me a favor, watch this video all the way to the end, and then comment down below which tank is currently your favorite. So I think we should get started with this one. This was definitely the biggest project of this year. Well, the year hasn't finished yet, but so far it's been the biggest project. So if you haven't seen this tank yet at all, this is my big shallow. It's measuring 120 centimeters from left to right. It's 50 centimeters front to back, and it's 30 centimeters tall. So it holds roughly 180 liters. But I'm guessing with all the hardscape that we have in here, I think we maybe have like 100 liters left. I made this into a South American inspired biotope / aquascape. It's a bit of a mix of both, I guess. The fish that we have in here are all from South America. Most of the plants are from South America as well. So it's not a true biotope, but it's my version of a South American biotope. So this was definitely a big project. It took quite a while to plan everything. And I think it took about a month and a half from taking down the previous layout to the point where it was ready for fish. I think right now it's almost 2 months old, so it's still a fairly new setup, but I'm really happy with how it's developing. Like as time passes by, it's becoming more and more natural. Plants are starting to grow properly. The immersed section is starting to fill in as well. So I'm really happy with it. Now unfortunately I do have some bad news. So at the beginning of this setup I added 60 green neon tetras, a bunch of different cories, and I also added 2 different types of apistogramma, dwarf cichlids. So I bought 1 male and 2 females of the apistogramma hongsloi, and I also bought 1 male and 2 females of the apistogramma borelli. Now unfortunately at this point I think we only have 1 male and 1 female hongsloi left, and there's also still 1 female of the borelli. So we've lost a male and female borelli, and we've lost 1 female of the hongsloi. So that's a bit of a bummer. And to be honest with you, I'm not even sure what happened. I mean, maybe it was a mistake to go for 2 different types of apistogramma. Maybe I should have just stick with 1 type. But I mean, I thought there were so many hiding places in here. You know, there's so many places where they can go. I thought it shouldn't really be a problem. And also, there was not really a lot of aggression. I mean, of course, the male hongsloi, this guy is definitely the king of the aquarium. He's definitely the boss. And sometimes he would, you know, he would chase the other fish away. But it's not like he was constantly chasing them and he was like damaging them or something. So it was really weird. It's like the fish were just not happy, so they just gave up and they just passed away, you know. It's very weird. But the good news is that the hongsloi male and female are definitely a couple. I think the female already laid eggs like a couple of times, but I think they're still kind of practicing and they haven't really made it to the actual free swimmer stage yet. But I'm sure that within a few weeks we should have some babies from the hongsloi, so that is exciting. But it's a bit sad that we've lost some apistogramma. I mean, all the other fish are still doing good. The green neon tetras are doing good. And I've actually also added some new fish. So when I initially added those 60 green neon tetras, I wasn't sure if I should add in more fish, because in the beginning they were very busy. They were constantly going from left to right, which looked really cool, but also kind of made the aquarium feel a bit crowded. So at that point I was like, nah, I'm not going to add any more fish. But then a few days later they kind of settled in, they kind of calmed down a bit more, and now they're staying mostly in this central area in the shadows. So at that point I was like, okay, maybe we do add in some more fish. So then I saw these dwarf pencilfish, the Nano marginatus, and I used to keep them like, I don't know, I think over 10 years ago. And they're really cool fish. They have very interesting behavior. They really interact with each other, kind of constantly trying to impress the females. So yeah, in general, I'm really happy with how this aquarium is developing, and it's only 2 months old, so it's only going to get better. Maybe I would like to add a little bit more green in the aquatic section, maybe a little bit more of that dwarf Sagittaria, or a little bit more Vallisneria or something like that. The immersed section is doing good as well, especially the hydrocotyl, that was just taking off completely. The kind of house plants that I use are doing good as well. I don't even know the names of these plants, but they're definitely taking off. So the only thing that hasn't really worked out well with this aquarium is the plants in the background of the immersed section. So basically behind this piece of wood, or like underneath there, I planted some Echinodorus. Also this plant right here, the pond plant, it's not really growing much. The Echinodorus, I still have some leaves over here, but it's not really growing tall as I expected. So that's a bit of a bummer. Some of them just completely melted away. So I might have to figure out something else for that, because I feel like it needs a little bit more in the background, you know? Because right now we just have this piece of wood that's visible. I don't know, I think we could use some more green over there. And I was really hoping that this plant right here, the Ludwigia, would grow more vibrant red and give a nice red touch to this aquarium. But it's not really working out as well. So I think I'm going to take some trimmings from this aquarium. Over here we have the Ludwigia super red, so it's like a different species. So I think I'm going to take some trimmings, add it to that, and maybe they will work out better. But that's it for the update on the big shallow. Let's move over to the shelf. Okay, so starting on top with the no filter aquarium with the Phoenix rasboras and the yellow Neocaridina shrimp. This one is completely overgrown and is probably going to be taken down soon as well. It's been up and running since I think January, so quite a while already. And I really enjoyed this aquarium. It was kind of my first experience with a no filter aquarium. I think they worked out quite well, but it was quite hard to maintain in terms of trimming. I used Glossostigma as a carpeting plant in the foreground. If you want to keep it nice and short, you have to trim it quite often. And at some point you kind of get sick of it, so now I just kind of let it go. So my first real no filter aquarium, and to be honest with you, I'm really surprised by how easy it actually was. This aquarium never really gave me any issues. It was super stable from the beginning, and I think that's just because I've used a lot of fast growing plants. So if you want to set up a no filter aquarium, use some fast growing stem plants, use a lot of floating plants. Make sure the light is not too intense as well, and then it's actually super easy. Make sure you have a nice thick substrate layer as well, and then you're all good to go. So I'm going to take it down soon and start something new, and I'm actually really excited about it. It's going to be something different, because it's such a small tank, you don't really have a lot of options in terms of stocking. I mean, there's usually only shrimp or like really small fish, but I think even for these Phoenix rasbora, it's a bit too small for them. But I have something interesting coming up, so stay tuned for that. Right, so that was the no filter aquarium. Let's move on to this one. This is the red cherry shrimpscape. I don't even know, have a name for it. Yeah, in here we have a bunch of red cherry shrimp and some tiger and guppies as well that just made babies. Shocker. So this one has also been up and running since January, but I'm still really happy with this. I'm not planning to take it down anytime soon, and I guess that's mainly because this one is very low maintenance. So with this one, the only thing I have to do is like once a month I have to trim the stem plants in the back. That's the Rotala Hra, and I also have to trim the Hygrophila. So that's the plant on the rocks. Then we have two very slow growing carpeting plants, so that also doesn't require any work. We have some crypts that are also very slow growing. And in that corner we have some Blixa japonica. That's actually a funny story. I always thought that you could never trim Blixa, at least not the leaves. You actually always have to trim the little stalk. But I trimmed them, I trimmed the leaves, and they actually grew back. It did take quite a long time, but yeah, it did came back, so I guess you can trim it. Now the only thing I was hoping for with this aquarium is that the Hygrophila, so the plant on the rocks, would turn red as well. So sometimes you see these pictures or clips on the internet from really vibrant red Hygrophila pinnatifida. So I was trying to achieve that in this aquarium as well. So I have a very strong light. I'm not dosing any nitrogen in here, which should help promote the red color in this plant. But somehow it's just not working. But I guess it's okay because we already have the Hra that is red, the stem plant. The Blixa is starting to turn red as well. And we have the red cherry shrimp, so I guess that's enough ready for this aquarium. Then moving on to the newest addition on the shelf, this is the Asian themed Blackwater Nano Cube, which is no longer really Blackwater, with the blue neon rasboras. So this one has already been set up for a month and I'm really happy with it. I was a little bit scared because these blue neon rasboras are wild caught and they're kind of labeled as sensitive fish. So I was afraid that we would lose a few in the first few days of this new setup. But I'm happy to say that they're still all alive, all 10 of them, and doing really well. I was also afraid that they would be very picky eaters. They would only eat like live foods or maybe only frozen foods. But they're actually eating dry foods as well, so that's a good thing. Really happy about that. The tannins kind of slowly disappeared. I think that's normal when you don't really have any catappa leaves in there. I just have a little bit of mulch and some elder cones. So I think we're gonna make a little bit more Blackwater tea later, so we can bring the tannins back. I think the only thing this aquarium is still missing is some shrimp. So I was thinking if I'm gonna take down the no filter aquarium, I can catch all the yellow shrimp from here and add them to the cube. Don't think I should be adding the Phoenix rasboras. I don't think we should be mixing two types of rasboras. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with those. But yeah, 10 rasboras and some yellow shrimp. I think that should be a nice combination. I did actually have a bit of a snail explosion in here. So I actually just added some assassin snails in here. Hopefully they will take care of that problem. So yeah, I think that's everything for the Blackwater cube. Oh, we still have to talk about the plant in the hang-on back filter, the pothos. It's actually doing really well, but I think it will probably be too small for the hang-on back filter soon. So I think we just have to find a way that we can balance it on the rim of the aquarium and have the roots just in the water, you know, just soaking up excess nutrients. And lastly on the shelf we have our two experiment tanks. So I just did an update on this last week, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it now, of course. But yeah, we just wrapped up the last experiment, which was lean dosing versus estimated index dosing, with some really interesting results. It actually made me excited to try estimated index a bit more often, because I really like the healthy compact growth that we got in here. Definitely would like to see that more. But yeah, I think now we have to try a new experiment. You guys gave me some really good suggestions. I think I've chosen something, but the only thing is that it would require me to take these tanks down and reset them again. I'm not really looking forward to that because they still look very good, you know, they still look super healthy. I mean, look at this. This is just a little beautiful piece of nature. So this was the lean dosing aquarium. So in here we had a little bit slower plant growth, but actually a little bit more elongated as well. Especially the Rotala bonsai grew much taller and not really compact. Yeah, this aquarium is just looking super good. Look at the color on that Rotala Valici. Super healthy. We have a really nice colony of blue-green, what's the name of the shrimp? Green jade. Yeah, green jade Neocaridina shrimp. So they're a little bit green, a little bit blue, a little bit black. And on this side we have the exact same thing, you know, like super healthy plant growth. This was the estimated index aquarium, so here we had faster growth and more compact as well. So it's a weird combination, but yeah, it was actually like that. And in here we have the orange Neocaridina shrimp, looking super good, breeding as well. So yeah, taking these tanks down, I'm not really looking forward to that, but we'll see. Maybe just keep them going for a bit longer and we'll just wait a little bit with any new experiment. Then moving on to the table where we have the CPD River. So this was basically my second attempt at trying to create a bit more of a natural style aquascape. So especially just on the shelf you saw a lot of really heavily planted tanks. So that's basically what I've been doing for the past 2-3 years, I guess. And I kind of wanted to go back to my roots, which was a bit more of a biotop style. And I guess this is a bit of a mix between the two. And I think it worked out well. So the idea here was to create the edge of a riverbank. And I think we've achieved that. It's actually the first time scaping with river pebbles or cobbles and natural style gravel as well. So this was a layout designed for the celestial pearl danios. And unfortunately we've lost 2. So I bought 6 initially and now we only have 4 left. I think especially with the celestial pearl danios, these days it's hard to find good quality strong fish, you know. I think because these fish are so popular, people are like mass breeding them and the quality just starts to go down and you get these really fragile fish that just don't live very long, are a little bit deformed as well, which is a shame because they're definitely one of my favorites. Yeah, right now we only have 4 left, so I think I have to go visit some shops and maybe see if I can find some nice quality ones, because it's a bit empty right now. We do still have the blue shrimp in here as well, and I see some pregnant ones, so I'm hoping that they can multiply. I mean, the CPDs might pick some off, but that's okay. Yeah, overall this is just a very low maintenance setup as well. I mean, we don't really have a carpeting plant, we don't really have a lot of fast growing stems in the back, so it's actually been a very low maintenance aquascape so far. I actually can't remember when I set it up. I think the video for this one went live on the beginning of August, and I've set it up before that, like 3 weeks earlier, to kind of cycle it. So yeah, I think it's almost 2 months old now. And people always ask me what kind of filter this is. This is the Dennerle Scapers Flow. It's like a mix between hang on the back and an external canister filter. So in this case it's hanging on the side, but we do have a traditional inflow and outflow. So not this like waterfall effect that you get with traditional hang on the back filters. So I have really cool filters, especially for these smaller tanks, and if you don't want to have an internal filter or a hang on the back filter. In terms of other equipment, we have the Chihiros WRGB Slim, so a nice LED light that's controllable via an app. The light screen is also controllable via an app, so this one is from Flux Aqua. So you get this app and then you can control all the different colors for it. It's pretty cool. And then I'm also using a simple CO2 system, which is over here. This is the Tropica CO2 system bio. Very similar to what I've made some videos about already. So it's just a bottle with sugar, yeast, and that's it. CO2 diffuser, super simple. Moving on to the 60p, I made a video about this one last week as well. So again, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. If you didn't see the video, I'll leave it somewhere on top of the screen. So I made this tank for the Vivarium exhibition, which is actually happening in a month from now. It's like for people in the US, you guys have Aquasoil, we have Vivarium. So it's like a 2-day event, all about freshwater aquariums, saltwater aquariums, paludariums, all that kind of stuff. Pretty cool event. So this one will be displayed at the booth of Azaqua, which is like a big Dutch aquascaping shop. So with 1 month to go to the exhibition, I just gave it one more trim. I think that will be the last one. So this one was made with exclusively only Tropica tissue culture plants. So in front we have a carpet with Amianthus cuba. Then we have the new plant from Tropica, the Anubias mini coin, really cool. We have some Bucephalanda Raqueta gang. In the background we have Rotala green and Rotala atra. And a few more plants. So hopefully in 1 month from now this is going to be a super dense, really lush planted tank. And I will see you guys in 1 month if you're coming there. I'll leave a link to the Vivarium website in the video description as well if you guys want to check it out. Then over on this side of the room we have the 70-liter Scapers tank, and we have an empty 45p. Some of you might be wondering what happened to the 45p, because this one used to have the green neon reservoirs, which are now in the 60p. So this aquarium actually crashed, and crashed as in I got a lot of algae. So I got a lot of blue-green algae, I got a lot of black bush algae, and I also got this really stubborn Cladophora algae. And this algae is so stubborn, like it's impossible to kill basically. Like you can't kill it with the liquid carbon, you can't kill it with hydrogen peroxide. It just doesn't die, you know. So I tried to save it, but it was just a nightmare. So I just decided to take it down so we can start something new again. I don't really have a plan yet, so if you guys have any suggestions, if you want to see a new scape, if you have some ideas, let me know in the comments and maybe I'll implement it. But yeah, we still have the 70-liter Scapers thing. This one has been up and running since Christmas. I set it up over the Christmas holidays and it's getting quite wild. I actually need to trim it back, but I quite like how wild it is. Now, believe it or not, in here we have a large group of amber tetras, but as you can see right now, they're invisible. So they're a little bit skittish. I think this is the type of fish that needs other fish to gain more confidence, you know? So you need to have a fish that kind of pulls it out and let it be more confident. But if you just sit still for a little bit, or you just give them some food like I just did, they will slowly start to come out. So we have about 30 amber tetras in here, and there's a few green neons in there as well. So yeah, just a little lovely overgrown nature aquarium, I guess. So those were actually all of my tanks just until last week when I came home with this. So So some of you might recognize it. This is the 20-liter cube that I set up for my nephew as a birthday present. So for the past 6 months he's taken really good care of it, but actually he and his family moved abroad, so they couldn't take the aquarium with them. So now it's here again. I'm not really sure what to do with it. I mean, it's completely covered in algae. That's because the aquarium was sitting in a room in a window. So that was fine during the winter, but during the summer it got completely blasted with sunlight. So it's completely covered in algae, but somehow it doesn't really look bad, you know? Somehow it kind of looks good, it looks interesting. So I'm not sure what to do with it, if I'm going to keep it or not. Probably my girlfriend's going to force me to take it down because it's ugly. So right now it's just running without the light, without a filter, and just gets a little bit of daylight in this window here as well. So I'm just going to keep it for as long as possible and just see what happens. And last but not least, we have our little balcony pond. So this one was set up in the beginning of June. It's now beginning of September, so roughly 3 months, I guess. And this one has been a real pleasure. I mean, obviously with the summer, you know, we've been spending a lot more time outside, a lot more time in this balcony. And just having this little tub of water with fish, with plants, seeing it develop, it's been a lot of fun. I'm not gonna lie, it's probably not the best looking pond, but I mean, this was the first time that I made a pond, so I'm happy with the end result. And it's just been super low maintenance as well, you know, like the only thing I've been doing in these past 3 months is topping up fresh water because we got a lot of evaporation. Every week or so I remove a lot of floating plants because they're like multiplying like crazy, and feed the fish of course. So yeah, that's it. So now it's beginning of September, so we don't really have a lot of summer left, I guess. So probably within a few weeks I'll have to strip it down, take the fish out, take the shrimp out, move them back inside. And then we'll see, maybe we'll do something again next year, maybe something bigger, maybe we'll do multiple ponds. I'm looking forward to that already. Right, so I think that's it. I think that's the room tour completed. So guys, let me know in the comments which one was your favorite. Also let me know if you're still missing something in this fish room. Maybe you have some suggestions for a new aquascape. And don't forget to smash that like button. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Take care.